The world's wealthiest families began a silent migration away from the public eye. They began quietly disappearing, leaving behind empty homes and abandoned lives. They were not disappearing into scandal or disgrace, but into a new existence, into something else entirely. It was an exit strategy hidden in plain sight. Family offices quietly moved their massive assets far away from traditional markets. They moved them entirely out of the reach of public scrutiny and regulation. They were operating on a strict timeline known only to an elite few. Nobody was supposed to notice. The movement was calculated and silent. These powerful families aren't just selling their positions in the market. They are preparing to leave the entire global financial system behind forever. The deadline for this final transition is fast approaching for everyone involved. Is 2027. This is the year when the old system reaches its final expiration. It starts with debt, a rising tide of red ink that can no longer be ignored. It is a financial crisis that is already gathering significant speed globally. A deep crisis that was already in motion behind the scenes for years. 2 crises, 1 deadline. The numbers are pointing to a collapse of the old order. Automation is now replacing human labor at an unprecedented and alarming rate, faster than economies can adapt. This massive movement isn't just a simple financial hedge against inflation. It's an exit, moving into a geography that answers to no one else but them. This autonomous transition is already in motion. Compounds, vessels. This is where the world's wealth is truly being stored now, far from the reach of the old system. Hidden structures, secure facilities carved into the very bedrock of our world, designed for total preservation and control. Built to function without the rest of us, a sovereign territory in the clouds. Without the rest of us, the physical exit is already underway for those with means as they move liquid assets into the new ledger. The repositioning schedule is tight. New cities are rising where none were before. Ends in early 2027. The construction of these hidden structures is accelerated to meet the window. After that, the world as we know it will be fundamentally different for everyone outside the fortress. Everything changes. The physical world is being re-engineered to support a new kind of existence. A transition to where? This investigation found the answers in the remote corners of the globe. That's what this investigation focused on, the quiet planning behind closed doors where the new map of power is being drawn today. Set out to answer. The ships are turning away from the visible world now. A territory owned by no nation. The memo confirms the asset repositioning schedule. It sounds like fiction, but it is already anchored in international waters. It's already under construction, coordinates that don't appear on any map. A new kind of territory is taking shape, provisioning for a voyage of no return, where the ocean becomes the new sovereign state. Is taking shape. The elite are moving between their compounds and their vessels, independent of any nation's borders or laws. A territory owned by no nation. It sounds like fiction, but it is already real. It's already under construction in the middle of the international waters. Some are going the other direction, deeper into the hidden bunker circuit. Into the bunker circuit where the rules of the surface world no longer apply. One insider gave us something no official filing ever could in this investigation. A first-hand account of the secret architecture being built in the shadows. It wasn't a conspiracy theory, it was a very large and very quiet spreadsheet, and it is building a new world right in front of us. A tugboat is guiding a completed platform section out to sea. A hidden facility entrance is barely visible in the mountains. A palm scanner grants access to the most secure areas, descending several hundred feet underground into the darkness. Heavy hydraulic blast doors are sealing the exit forever. A voice recorder captures the truth about the transition. A first-hand account from a source within the network who witnessed the repositioning of the world's capital into the shadows. Used to represent. Now, gold is just a memory in a world where code and cryptography rule everything. Crucial documents being shared between the investigators now, proving that the digital fortress is more than just a theory. Spreadsheets revealing the massive scale of the ledger, archived records containing the history of private wealth, and the secret agreements that laid the foundation for the 2027 reset. Mapping the complex network of global influence today, the Obsidian Ledger is at the heart of the movement. Schematics for the data facility that holds the wealth, protected by code and hardened infrastructure in remote locations. Indicator lights pulsing within the heart of the vault. Windowless facilities beneath the mountains are active now. The registry header for the new digital asset class. The investigation reaches the heart of the digital fortress, where the world's wealth is now secured. Pulsing indicator lights reveal a system that never sleeps, managing trillions in shadow capital. What comes next is a world where the borders are no longer physical, but defined by access keys. Changes everything. The doors are closing on the old world, and the new one is already online. Skyscrapers dissolving into digital tokens on the grid. Ownership tokens transferring instantly across a digital map. The final physical deeds are being scanned and archived, marking the end of the era of tangible ownership in the visible world. A paper title deed is sealed away, no longer needed. The architecture of influence is built on quantum-secured data streams that cannot be intercepted. Hardened server enclosures provide ultimate physical security. The physical exit strategy involves remote facilities that are self-sustaining and completely secure. Entering the bunker circuit, where information is the only currency that matters anymore. The trillion-dollar shift is happening right now, visible only on the ledgers of the elite. The algorithm and the answer, crossing thresholds that were once thought to be impossible. Analysts monitoring the ledger as the reset approaches, watching as the shadow economy eclipses the traditional markets. Final repositioning underway. The transition is nearly complete for the sovereign cloud. The $500 trillion calculation that is remapping the future of human wealth. Welcome to the future of wealth. A place where you only exist if the ledger says you do. The control room monitors the transition of global wealth into the digital fortress, where the elite remain unreachable. The investigation into the digital fortress is complete. The future of wealth has been secured behind a wall of code. In the last 18 months, the world's wealthiest families began quietly disappearing. Not into bankruptcy, not into scandal, into something else entirely. Family offices worth hundreds of billions have moved assets out of public markets. Quietly, methodically, on a timeline nobody was supposed to notice. They aren't just selling, they are leaving. And according to internal planning documents obtained for this investigation, the deadline is 2027. A quiet exodus, a parallel infrastructure, a system built to outlast the one we live in. This is the story they didn't want told. Welcome to the 2027 reset. Why the global elite are quietly exiting the system, and what they know that you don't. To understand why they're leaving, you first have to understand what they see coming. It starts with debt. Global sovereign debt has crossed a threshold economists call structurally irreversible. Every major currency is now leveraged against a promise that can't be kept twice. Layer onto that a second force, automation displacing labor faster than economies can absorb it. Two slow-moving crises, one converging deadline. Internally, analysts at firms like the Meridian Consortium have modeled this convergence for a decade. They gave it a name, the compression window. A period where debt, automation, and currency instability collide, all at once, around the same year. 2027. This isn't the first time the wealthy have seen a reset coming. In 1929, in 2008, small circles moved early and moved quietly. What's different this time is scale and permanence. This isn't a hedge, it's an exit. At the center of it sits a network few outside private banking have ever heard of. Insiders call it the Continuity Council. Not a company, not a club, a loose coordination of family offices, sovereign funds, and legacy trusts. Their only public trace is what they leave behind. Flight data researchers have tracked a 40% rise in private jet departures to remote coordinates since last year. Not vacations, relocations. Destinations that don't appear on commercial maps. Compounds, vessels, structures built to function without the rest of us. We'll take you inside that infrastructure later in this film, but first, you need to understand the machinery driving them out. Central banks have printed more currency in 5 years than in the previous 50 combined. Every unit diluted the one before it. For most people, that shows up as a receipt that gets longer every month. For the ultra-wealthy, it shows up as a countdown. Internal memos reviewed for this documentary reference a repositioning schedule ending in early 2027. After that point, the plan assumes the current system no longer functions the same way. Automation isn't a future threat. It's already rewriting who earns what. Entire income brackets are being quietly phased out of relevance. Economists call it structural displacement. Those funding the automation call it something else, an opportunity to consolidate. As wages compress, capital concentrates. The fewer people who can compete for assets, the more valuable those assets become to those who hold them. That's the quiet logic behind everything you're about to see. Consolidate the assets, secure the infrastructure, exit the volatility. Sources inside two family offices, speaking on condition of anonymity, describe the same phrase. We are not preparing for a crash. We are preparing for a transition. A transition to where exactly? That's the question this investigation set out to answer. What we found spans 4 continents, 3 oceans, and a financial architecture most regulators don't know exists. This is where the story turns. Because the economic story you just heard is real, but it's only the cover story. The real reason they're leaving is far more permanent than a market cycle. It's about surviving what comes after the market cycle ends. Physical exits, digital fortresses, and a psychological system built to keep everyone else exactly where they are. We're going inside all 3. Starting with the most audacious part of the plan, leaving the map entirely. Sovereign territory that floats, owned by no nation, governed by none of our laws. It sounds like fiction. It's already under construction. Lawyers specializing in maritime law have quietly drafted frameworks for territory that answers to no government. The paperwork already exists. It's just been waiting for a date. The engineering already exists. What's new is who's funding it and why now. Every answer leads back to the same date. Next, the physical exit, where the world's wealthiest are actually going and how they're getting there. 90 miles beyond any coastline, a new kind of territory is taking shape. No flag, no parliament, no taxes. We covered the first of these platforms in a previous investigation. Since then, 3 more have broken ground. Residency isn't for sale to the public. It's inherited or it's earned through capital commitment few can meet. Entry price, 9 figures minimum. Legally, these platforms exist in a gap. Too far offshore for any nation to easily claim jurisdiction, too new for maritime law to fully address. They're built to be self-sufficient, power, water, food, all generated on site. The goal isn't luxury, it's independence. If the systems on shore fail, the systems offshore don't notice. That's the entire design philosophy. But the water isn't for everyone. Some of the Continuity Council's members are going the other direction, down, into what's known internally as the bunker circuit. We reported on this trend years ago. What's changed is the scale. These aren't survival shelters anymore. These are no longer simple survival shelters. They are permanent underground cities. Some facilities house medical wings, data centers, and independent power generation for 500 residents or more, built to run for decades without ever surfacing. Many of these projects are filed under innocuous permits, storage facilities, agricultural infrastructure, anything but what they actually are. Contractors on these projects sign non-disclosure agreements that can run for decades, with penalties in the tens of millions. Silence, it turns out, is the most valuable commodity in this economy. We've documented this pattern before in remote regions prized for their isolation and stable climate. The buyers are almost never named directly, they're represented by shell entities. One property, 6 holding companies, 3 jurisdictions, 0 public names, that's not unusual. One property, 6 holding companies, 3 jurisdictions, that is the standard structure. Golden visa programs and investor citizenship schemes have made this migration nearly frictionless for those who can afford it. For everyone else, the same countries have tightened their borders. There are, increasingly, 2 systems, one with a price of admission, one without an exit. Some of these enclaves aren't hidden at all. They're hidden in plain sight, marketed as ultra-private resorts. The membership fee alone exceeds what most families earn in a lifetime. Layered trusts, nested entities, structures designed so that even forensic accountants lose the thread. It isn't hiding money, it's making the money unfindable by design. Private security spending among this network has tripled in 3 years. Not against street crime. Against the possibility of the system itself breaking down, everything you've heard so far comes from public records, satellite data, and financial filings. But one source gave us something no filing ever could, a first-hand account. We're calling him Sentinel. For 6 years, he managed risk modeling for a family office tied to the Continuity Council. He left that job 8 months ago. He hasn't stopped looking over his shoulder since. I didn't leave because I disagreed with the plan, he told us. I left because I finally understood what the plan actually required. What he described wasn't a conspiracy in the cinematic sense. It was a spreadsheet. A very large, very quiet spreadsheet tracking who moves where and when. According to Sentinel, roughly 600 family offices worldwide coordinate loosely around the same repositioning timeline. Not a single command structure, more like weather systems influencing each other. Nobody signs a treaty, he said. You just start noticing everyone around you is quietly doing the same thing. Sentinel gave us something else, a partial map of the network connecting the platforms and bunkers we've already shown you. It's more organized than anyone outside that world has previously proven. A floating platform in the Pacific, a bunker network in the Southern Hemisphere, a data facility we'll show you next, all connected by the same logistics chain and the same ledger. This is a supply chain built to move people, capital, and infrastructure, all without ever touching a system the rest of us rely on. Two weeks after our final conversation, Sentinel stopped responding. We don't know why. We hope it's simply caution. What he gave us before he disappeared changes how this story has to be told, because the physical exit isn't the endpoint, it's the shelter. Because the real fortress isn't made of concrete or steel, it's made of code. Sentinel called it the part that actually matters. The system that lets wealth exist without ever touching a bank, a border, or a tax authority again. It's called real-world asset tokenization, and it's already moving trillions. The floating platforms shelter the people, the bunkers shelter the infrastructure, but the ledger shelters the wealth itself. And that's the story we go inside next. What we found inside that ledger reveals something unsettling. Wealth is being moved into assets that, on paper, don't exist at all. This is the digital fortress, and it may be the most important part of this entire investigation. Somewhere beneath a mountain range that doesn't appear on tourist maps, a different kind of vault operates. It doesn't hold gold. It holds everything gold used to represent. It's called the Obsidian Ledger, a private tokenization network built to convert physical wealth into untraceable digital ownership. Real estate, art, mineral rights, entire companies. The process is called real-world asset tokenization. A building becomes a digital token. The token can move anywhere on Earth in seconds, without ever touching a bank. No customs to cross, no bank to notify, no government registry required. The asset never physically moves, only the ownership does. We traced tokenized assets tied to lithium deposits, shipping fleets, and water rights across 4 continents. None of it appears in any public financial disclosure. Regulators we spoke with on background admitted they don't yet have the legal framework to classify these assets, let alone tax them. By the time the law catches up, the value has already moved again. What makes the Obsidian Ledger different from ordinary blockchain systems is the layer underneath it: quantum encryption. Ordinary encryption can, in theory, eventually be broken by powerful enough computers. Quantum-secured systems are built so that any attempt to intercept the data destroys it instantly. This technology exists in research labs and a handful of national defense programs. The Continuity Council has quietly funded its own private version for nearly a decade. Some of that funding runs through university partnerships that even the researchers involved don't fully understand. They're told it's private industry investment. They're rarely told whose. This is what Sentinel meant when he called it the part that actually matters: a financial system with no single point of failure and no single point of accountability. Independent researchers estimate the tokenized shadow economy has already crossed $100 trillion in represented value. For comparison, that's larger than the GDP of every nation on Earth combined. It exists in parallel to the economy you participate in, growing faster, taxed less, regulated almost not at all. Each facility we've identified operates as what insiders call a sovereign node, physically located nowhere in particular, legally accountable to no single government. International law was never built for infrastructure that exists everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. That gap isn't an accident, it's the entire business model. The Meridian Consortium, which we introduced earlier, holds a controlling interest in the Obsidian Ledger's governance structure. A structure with no public shareholders and no public board. We requested comment. We received a single line in response. The consortium does not confirm or deny the existence of internal structures referenced in speculative reporting. That non-denial is, in its own way, the most revealing statement in this entire investigation. Silence, again, as the loudest answer. Forensic analysts we worked with traced tokenized transfers exceeding $400 billion, all routed through just 6 sovereign nodes in the past year alone. These systems don't go down, they don't get audited, they don't answer to shareholders, they simply keep running. Lawmakers in 3 countries have proposed oversight legislation for tokenized asset networks. None of it has passed. Lobbying against it has outspent every other financial reform effort combined. 3 separate oversight bills have died in committee in the past 2 years alone. Each one, according to public records, was amended into irrelevance before it ever reached a floor vote. The same entities building this parallel system are quietly funding the campaigns that decide whether any of it ever gets regulated. It isn't a single conspiracy, it's dozens of smaller, self-interested decisions that all point the same direction, and they all point away from accountability. Internal documents place full migration of the network's core holdings by the first quarter of 2027. The same year, the same window. Every thread in this investigation converges here. The debt cycle, the automation curve, the physical exits, the digital vault. 4 separate stories, 1 coordinated timeline. But there's one more piece to this, the part that explains why most people have never heard any of it. While one system quietly exits, the rest of us are being kept extremely busy. That isn't a coincidence either. There's an entire industry dedicated to your attention, making sure it never drifts toward questions like the ones we're asking tonight. We covered the mechanics of that system in a previous investigation into marketing and free will. What we didn't fully connect until now is who benefits most from that distraction. The longer the public stays occupied, the longer this transition continues unnoticed. That's not a metaphor. It's a documented internal objective. We're about to show you exactly how that system works and what you can still do about it. Every thread we followed tonight leads to the same closing question. Not whether this system exists, it does, but whether you were ever meant to see it. Because understanding the system is a first step, a step most of them never expected the public to take. The debt, the automation, the exits, the ledger, now the reveal that ties it all together. Every morning on schedule, most of the world wakes up and steps back into the same system. This is our reality. That isn't an accident. It's the design working exactly as intended. The alarm rings and the cycle begins again. Every morning on schedule, most of the world wakes up and steps back into the same system, connected yet isolated. That isn't an accident. It's the design working exactly as intended. A simple cup of coffee in a complex machine. We covered part of this system in a previous investigation into marketing and free will. Data flows constantly. What we're revealing tonight is who actually funds it and why the timing lines up so precisely. The money follows the eye. We covered part of this system in a previous investigation into marketing and free will. The screens are everywhere. What we're revealing tonight is who actually funds it and why the timing lines up so precisely. The charts only go up. Several of the holding companies behind major attention economy platforms trace back to trusts. The network is vast. The people leaving the system are, in part, the same people financing everyone else's reason to stay distracted, a shadow loop. Several of the holding companies behind major attention economy platforms trace back to trusts. Decisions are made in silence. The people leaving the system are, in part, the same people financing everyone else's reason to stay distracted. You are the product. Behavioral scientists have documented for over a decade how digital systems are engineered to capture and hold attention. Neural paths. What's new is understanding whose interest that captured attention ultimately serves. The laboratory of the mind. Behavioral scientists have documented for over a decade how digital systems are engineered to capture and hold attention. Perfectly timed. What's new is understanding whose interests that captured attention ultimately serves. The findings are hidden in plain sight. Every scroll, every notification, every impulse purchase keeps the broader public exactly where the system needs them. Locked in. Occupied, comfortable, unaware of the exit door closing in the distance. The digital current is strong and steady. Every scroll, every notification, every impulse purchase keeps the broader public exactly where the system needs them. Together, alone. Occupied, comfortable, unaware of the exit door closing in the distance. Another ping, another distraction in the void. One memo reviewed for this investigation put it in stark terms. Sustained engagement reduces scrutiny velocity. In plain language, the more distracted people are, the slower they notice what's happening around them. One memo reviewed for this investigation put it in stark terms: sustained engagement reduces scrutiny velocity. In plain language, the more distracted people are, the slower they notice what's happening around them. The good news, if there is any in this story, is that awareness itself is the one asset this system can't tokenize. It doesn't require 9 figures. It requires attention, the very thing they're spending billions to keep from you. The good news, if there is any in this story, is that awareness itself is the one asset this system can't tokenize. It doesn't require 9 figures. It requires attention, the very thing they're spending billions to keep from you. So what can you actually do with everything you've just learned? Let's walk through it. Knowledge is the first step towards sovereignty. So what can you actually do with everything you've just learned? Let's walk through it. Here's the path forward. First, know exactly what you own, where it's held, and who has access to it. Concentration risk isn't only a problem for billionaires. First, know exactly what you own, where it's held, and who has access to it. Concentration risk isn't only a problem for billionaires. Second, diversification isn't a buzzword. It's the single most accessible version of what the ultra-wealthy are doing at a much larger scale. Second, diversification isn't a buzzword. Protecting your assets. It's the single most accessible version of what the ultra-wealthy are doing at a much larger scale. Third, build a habit of checking primary sources before reacting to headlines, including the ones in this documentary. We've cited what we could verify. Treat everything else as a lead worth investigating further, not a conclusion. Third, build a habit of checking primary sources before reacting to headlines, including the ones in this documentary. We've cited what we could verify. Treat everything else as a lead worth investigating further, not a conclusion for this documentary. Fifth, basic preparedness isn't paranoia. It's the same logic the ultra-wealthy apply, scaled down to something achievable. Fifth, basic preparedness isn't paranoia. It's the same logic the ultra-wealthy apply, scaled down to something achievable. Fifth, basic preparedness isn't paranoia. It's the same logic the ultra-wealthy apply, scaled down to something achievable for everyone. Know your emergency contacts. Keep essential documents accessible. Have a plan that doesn't depend on any single system working perfectly for you. Sixth, share what you learn. Financial literacy compounds the same way capital does, except this version isn't gatekept behind a 9-figure minimum. Learn now. Sixth, share what you learn. Knowledge shared is the only way we can collectively prepare for the 2027 reset. Financial literacy compounds the same way capital does, except this version isn't gatekept behind a 9-figure minimum. Fourth, invest in the kind of resilience that can't be tokenized: relationships, skills, and community. Fourth, invest in the kind of resilience that can't be tokenized: relationships, skills, and community. The Continuity Council is building redundancy into their lives. You can build it into yours at a scale that fits you. The system isn't ending tomorrow, but it is quietly being rebuilt by people who never intend to ask your permission. Let's return to where we started: the empty estate, the quiet sale, the jet on the empty tarmac. Or will you finally understand it well enough to prepare on your own terms? The choice is yours. Will you be left inside the system they're leaving behind? Preparing is essential. Or will you finally understand it well enough to prepare on your own terms? Look toward the future. That's the story of the 2027 reset, as far as we've been able to document it. The end of this chapter. That's the story of the 2027 reset, as far as we've been able to document it. The city remains unaware. But 2 threads remain open, and we're already pulling on both. The investigation continues. That distinction matters more than ever in a story this large. The truth is found in the details. We spent 4 months verifying what we could and clearly labeling what we couldn't. One light remains on. The first, how this same network is quietly buying control of entire nations' digital infrastructure. We're calling it digital colonialism, and the evidence is more extensive than anything you've seen tonight. The first, how this same network is quietly buying control of entire nations' digital infrastructure. We're calling it digital colonialism, and the evidence is more extensive than anything you've seen tonight. The second, a full tour inside the bunker circuit itself, from a source who's never spoken publicly before. That's next. We are going inside the hidden architecture. If tonight's investigation raised more questions than it answered, that's exactly where we are too. If tonight's investigation raised more questions than it answered, that's exactly where we are too. A new day dawns. Whatever else changes in the years ahead, the fundamentals stay the same for everyone. And patterns, unlike conspiracies, are things you can actually verify for yourself with clarity and focus. We'll keep following the pattern for as long as it keeps moving and evolving. We'll keep following the pattern for as long as it keeps moving in the shadows. It's where this pattern first became visible to us after months of silent research. Know what you own. Stay connected to real people. Stay curious about the world. No single fact in this documentary proves a conspiracy. Together, they describe a pattern. Until then, watch closely. Some of the biggest stories are the quietest ones in our world. Whatever else changes in the years ahead, the fundamentals stay the same for all of us. Thanks for watching. If this documentary made you think differently about the world around you, that was the point. This has been the 2027 Reset. We'll see you inside the bunker circuit very soon. Different angles, same architecture. We've seen it all before in our investigations. This has been the 2027 Reset. We'll see you inside the bunker circuit. It's where this pattern first became visible to us, the silent movement of wealth. Know what you own, stay connected to real people, stay curious, and always stay aware. No single fact in this documentary proves a conspiracy. Together, they describe a pattern. Everything in tonight's film connects to investigations we've published before: The Inheritance, the Family Office Network, the Floating City. Everything in tonight's film connects to investigations we've published before: The Inheritance, the Family Office Network, the Floating City. And keep asking, who benefits from your not knowing? Stay curious, stay informed, and always stay ahead of the game. This story isn't finished. It's ongoing, and so is our reporting on it for the foreseeable future. This story isn't finished. It's ongoing, and so is our reporting on it. We'll keep following the pattern for as long as it moves. If you're new here, we'd recommend starting with the Great Wealth Transfer. It's where this pattern first became visible to us. Thank you for watching the 2027 Reset. Stay aware, stay informed, stay vigilant in this changing world. Until then, watch closely. Some of the biggest stories are the quietest ones in our entire civilization. Every scroll, every notification, every impulse purchase keeps the broader public exactly where the system needs them. That isn't an accident. It's the design working exactly as intended. That tour is coming up next in our investigation. Let's walk through the steps together right now to ensure clarity. Every morning, on schedule, most of the world wakes up and steps back into the same system. We're all part of it. Let's return to where we started: the empty estate, the quiet sale, the jet on the empty tarmac. The people leaving the system are, in part, the same people financing everyone else's reason to stay distracted. It doesn't require 9 figures. It requires attention, the very thing they're spending billions to keep from you. A path most of the world still doesn't know exists, a path built on layers of data. The door they're walking through is closing slowly enough that most people won't notice until it's shut. That family didn't vanish. They simply moved further down a path that's been under construction for years. None of this requires panic. It requires clarity and a focused mind. The question this documentary leaves you with is simple. Will you be ready? The system isn't ending tomorrow, but it is quietly being rebuilt by people who never intend to ask your permission. We've cited what we could verify. Treat everything else as a lead worth investigating further, not a conclusion. The floating platforms, the bunkers, the ledger, the distraction machine, all pieces of the architecture. The good news, if there is any in this story, is that awareness itself is the one asset this system can't tokenize. One memo reviewed for this investigation put it in stark terms: sustained engagement reduces scrutiny velocity. Fifth, basic preparedness isn't paranoia. It's the same logic the ultra-wealthy apply, scaled down to something achievable. The system isn't ending tomorrow, but it is quietly being rebuilt by people who never intend to ask your permission. See you next time, and remember, the door only closes on the people who never looked for it. It's the single most accessible version of what the ultra-wealthy are doing at a much larger scale. The people leaving the system are, in part, the same people financing everyone else's reason to stay distracted. The people leaving the system are, in part, the same people financing everyone else's reason to stay distracted. Several of the holding companies behind major attention economy platforms trace back to trusts connected to the same continuity council network. We've cited what we could verify. Treat everything else as a lead worth investigating further, not a conclusion. Every morning, on schedule, most of the world wakes up and steps back into the same system. The people leaving the system are, in part, the same people financing everyone else's reason to stay distracted. We must look closer at the funding. It doesn't require 9 figures. It requires attention, the very thing they're spending billions to keep from you, every single day. A path most of the world still doesn't know exists. A path built on layers of hidden data and shadow funding. The door they're walking through is closing slowly enough that most people won't notice until it's finally shut for good. Fifth, basic preparedness isn't paranoia. It's the same logic the ultra-wealthy apply, scaled down to something actually achievable for you. That family didn't vanish. They simply moved further down a path that's been under heavy construction for many years now. None of this requires panic. It requires clarity. It requires a calm understanding of the systems at play here. The door they're walking through is closing slowly enough that most people won't notice until it's finally shut. The end is near. We've cited what we could verify. Treat everything else as a lead worth investigating further, not a final conclusion for today. Second, diversification isn't a buzzword. It's the key to maintaining your sovereignty in an increasingly complex financial world. Concentration risk isn't only a problem for billionaires. It affects every single person who depends on these interconnected systems. One memo reviewed for this investigation put it in stark terms. Sustained engagement reduces scrutiny velocity. This is the core strategy. Thanks for watching. If this documentary made you think differently about the world around you, that was the entire point. Awareness is key. See you next time. And remember, the door only closes on the people who never looked for it. Stay awake and stay aware. This story isn't finished. It's ongoing, and so is our reporting on it. We'll keep following the pattern for as long as it moves. And remember, the door only closes on the people who never looked for it. Our journey continues into the bunker circuit.